Hello everyone, welcome to my new channel called This versus That. Today we're going to look at two Zippo lighter fluids, one the actual Zippo lighter fluid, and compare that to Naphtha, which can also potentially be used as a lighter fluid. In this channel we're going to take a look at different things and compare them and try to use some scientific methods, math, statistics, things like that to help actually determine what the differences are between things, if some are better than others. We'll start off with this and then we'll progress from there. So to start with, we have two identical Zippo lighters that we are going to utilize. Both of them are just standard Zippo lighters, so we'll take them. What we'll do is we'll fill both of these up with a known quantity. We're going to take one of each and burn them until they are extinguished, and then do that a few times, get a statistical sample so that we can actually measure which one of these fuels is better, and whenever we say better, last longer, or if there's any difference at all. So let's get started. Okay, so we can keep track of which one is which. We are going to take and mark a 1 and a 2. As I said, there are two identical lighters. So before we start, let's look and make sure the wicks are pretty much the same length. As you can see here, I think both of them are pretty close. We want to make sure that they are the same length, as if one of them is longer than the other, it's going to tend to burn more fuel, just simply because there's more exposure. But they look pretty close. And then to compensate for that, also, if there is any minor differences between the two lighters, what we're going to do is alternate between the two lighters, between Zippo Fluid versus the Naphtha, and go back and forth as we collect our samples. And that way, if there is any minute differences between the two, then statistically they'll average out so that we can see a true comparison between the two fuels. Okay, so for the number 2 Zippo, we're going to put the Naphtha fluid. And start with 4 milliliters. So we'll do 4 of these. Okay, so we're back. As you can see, the dropper that I was using fell out and busted. So alternatively, we'll take and use a syringe. Okay, so going back and looking, we did manage to get all of the last one in there, so that should be 4. And if it turns out that we were incorrect and we didn't get everything in there as we progress with the new method, then we'll take in. Well, should see that in the data that the first one was wrong. So, as I said earlier, the dropper that I was using broke. Should say that I dropped it and it broke. I was trying to use a syringe, but it's just not working very well. So we'll just go down to this and use this small container here. I did end up with 4 milliliters of the Naphtha in this one. This one is still dry. And it looks like the easiest thing is going to be just to take and measure it out this way. We might make a bit of a mess, but there we go. Okay, so right at 4 milliliters, what we're trying to get. Much easier, much easier. So, and I put this in here. I'm going to clean up my mess and we'll be right back. We'll have a fire extinguisher handy just in case. We're all set up. We have the Naphtha in the number 2 and the standard Zippo lighter fluid in number 1. And what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to light these, and I've got 2 bowls of water here. We're going to take and set them in the bowls of water. Purpose of that is so that the lighter does not become hot and the fluid inside start to vaporize and burn without going through the wick. So this will be a way to control the temperature and make sure that we're getting a good burn. So with that, we'll start. Okay, burning. I'm just going to set them into the water. Just like that. Just like that. And then we're just going to let it burn until they are extinguished. Okay, the Zippo lighter fluid has just went out. The time is right at 17 minutes and 27 seconds. Okay, we just crossed the 20-minute mark and the Naphtha is still going. Okay, looks like it just went out at right at 23 minutes and 56 seconds. Okay, so it actually burns for quite some time. Most likely what we'll do is on the next test through on out, we'll take and we will reduce it down to 2 millimeters. That way we can reduce the time that it burns for each test. I was very surprised that either fluid went as long as they did on the little bit of lighter fluid that we put in each lighter. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the lighters out, give them a quick dry off. They've sat here and cooled. Now that they're cooled, we'll take and we're going to flip the lighters and put Zippo fluid in the number 2 lighter and the Naphtha fluid in the number 1 lighter. Okay, here we go again. So once again, we're going to take and flip the lighters and refuel. Okay, last test. Taking a look at the run chart here, the Zippo lighter fluid was actually always below the Naphtha except for one occasion in our data that we collected here. And you'll notice there's a trend upwards for both of these. And I suspect that's just because the Zippo was becoming more and more saturated as we went on and on with the testing. Look at our confidence interval chart. This is plotted for a 95% confidence interval. We can see that the Zippo fluid and the Naphtha fluid have a statistically different average on the burn time. So if you're not familiar with how this works, the bar columns are, the top of that is the average burn time, and you'll see the horizontal lines with the vertical line connecting the two. That is the confidence interval for each. And if the confidence intervals for the Zippo and the Naphtha does not uh, line up with each other, and if you was to run a horizontal line and they do not cross paths, then that means that they are statistically different. And so with that, we can say for sure that naphtha fuel has a longer burn time. So in conclusion, I would say that if you are looking strictly for the how long your Zippo will burn, the naphtha fuel would be an ideal fuel for you to use since it has on average a longer burn time. In this test, it clearly shows that there is a difference, and uh, the Zippo fluid is just does not burn as long as the naphtha fluid. Well, that's the conclusion of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any ideas or suggestions on other things that we can compare, I'd love to hear them. I have a couple more ideas around Zippo lighter fluids, wind tests, things like that. Hope you come back and see the rest of the videos.